I made a lot of mistakes in today's match, more than I first thought. At the time, it felt comfortable, but as I watch it back, I realised just how many things I actually got wrong. Two teams fighting for 3 points for very different reasons, and every decision matters. Poor positions, poor signals, and communication that wasn't as clear as it should have been. This game could have got out of control, but it didn't. However, right at the end of the game, disaster strikes. The weather in this match was horrendous, right? It was blowing a gale. Listen to this. The camera's wobbling all over the place. It's very, very windy. And as you've seen in the intro, that causes a little bit of a problem later on in the game. So in this first minute of a game, I'm always trying to basically assess how the conditions are going to impact what's going on and kind of get a feel for the start of this game. You'll see there are a few bad touches, players slipping over and things like this. And then just a couple minutes into the game, we give our first foul. So you see a lad's driving in, and for me, he gets tripped. The lad knocks the ball away, and I basically say to him, mate, it's a foul and don't kick the ball away. This isn't really worthy of a yellow card for delaying the restart. Reason being is nobody's in a rush to play the free kick quickly. He's not delaying anything. However, just want to nip that sort of thing in the bud early and let him know, look, mate, you're lucky they don't want to play quickly. So if they did, you know, you would leave me with no choice, basically. Just want to highlight not to delay the restart early in the game. It's not going to fly for the rest of the game. And yeah, and Blue have got a free kick early on. Now, one thing to notice from this free kick is my position, and it's not very good, to be honest. Before I tell you why it's not very good, why do you think it's not very good? For me, it's not very good because the danger, well, I say danger. The likelihood is, right, the ball's going to get crossed in. We know that. We know the ball's going to get crossed into the box. Okay, it's very typical with a situation like this. However, you've obviously got this guy in the wall. So you've got the risk of him crossing it and this guy handballing it. All I've done is kept eyes on play because I'm worried about what's going to be happening in the box. And I've completely ignored the fact that there's a guy in the wall that could handball it if that ball's getting crossed in. Thankfully, on this occasion, this doesn't really play a part, but it's something to be mindful of. Could I maybe position myself more like here? And then I'd be able to see both, you know? Wouldn't really make that much of a difference when viewing what's happening in the box, but I'd have a much clearer view on what happens with the wall if I was stood here. Or maybe I could position myself around here and then work my way in as he crosses that ball. Now here, you'll see there's a push in the back from 4, which was probably a foul, but no one really expected a foul there. And then they grab each other and the number 9 swears whilst, you know, complaining the fact that it's not a foul. I come at him a little bit aggressive in this situation. If I was to be in this situation again, I would wait and then have a quiet word with him. I don't like the look of losing my composure, if that makes sense. So he says something and then I turn and I start pointing and I'm telling him, don't speak to me like that, otherwise it's gonna be a sin bin. I don't want to react like that. I don't want it to look like I'm losing composure when dealing with players. It's not my style. I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the way it feels. Not a situation I'm particularly happy with. I always think when interacting with players is they're always gonna come at you with high energy, okay? And it's our job as referees to keep that energy lower and calm and take every opportunity we can to calm the game down rather than be a part of the reason that the temperature rises. So it's one of those situations where I wouldn't like to react like this again. So as the ball goes out for this goal kick, somebody on the halfway line goes down and receives treatment. So I take the opportunity to go and talk to the number 9 that I'd had the outburst with. And I said, look, mate, I've come at you a bit aggressive there, lost my composure. It's not how I like to do things. If you keep it, if we can chat like this the whole game, I'll be happy. Try not to swear, as otherwise you get yourself into trouble. And you'll see that we had an amicable conversation, right? I explained to him, I've come to be aggressive, I'm sorry. He's then gone, yep, no worries, ref, me too. And then you'll see that we've both gone, yeah, happy days, let's crack on with it. Some people will like this, some people won't. Some people think, oh, like you shouldn't be friends with the players, blah, blah, blah. But I'm always myself when I'm on the pitch, and I didn't like how I reacted in that situation. I thought, well, if I address this now in a period of downtime, then he's not thinking that ref's the whole match, right? I show a bit of humility. I say, look, mate, you acted in a way that you shouldn't. I reacted in a way that I shouldn't. Sweep it under the rug, effectively shake hands and crack on with the game. I personally don't see a problem with that. Not everyone's going to be a fan of it, but that's how I am, and that's my personality, and I don't want to be an actor when I'm refereeing. Yes, you want to be a showman sometimes, but at my core, in terms of the way I want to referee and the way I want to interact with players, ultimately they are people, I always want to try and show humility and the fact that I'm trying my best. Now this is a really interesting situation. So the assistant referee didn't flag that the ball had gone out, and I didn't think the ball had gone out. And so I'm basically explaining to the goalkeeper that we are still in play and to play on. In hindsight, I wouldn't do this. Your best bet is do the safest thing. If the goalkeeper thinks the ball's gone out and you're not certain there was a touch from the defender, the best thing to do here is just give a goal kick. Say, no lads, it's a goal kick, signal. Fact is, I thought the ball was in play. The club assistant didn't flag because she didn't think the ball was out of play. And so we are live and playing. So I'm basically telling the goalkeeper, mate, we're in play, because otherwise that would have caused absolute carnage. And then, yeah, we play on. Crazy situation. Just stop play, Eric, next time, please. Team in blue, go 1-0 up. So it's an interesting situation. So the ball gets crossed in. This player in blue is in an offside position, okay? So the assistant referee raises her flag because he's interfered with play. Now you might say, well, he's not actually interfered with play, but at grassroots, this is, for me, offside every time. Now, even if we feel like blue hasn't interfered with play here, you would have to decide whether the red player has made a controlled play on the ball. For me, I wouldn't say he has here, okay? I would say that he is stretching. He doesn't have more than one option to play the ball. It's not a controlled movement. And so that for me is a deflection. And so the player in blue is still offside. It doesn't reset. Some people again will disagree, but for me, this is the safest action to take in a grassroots game. I think this is offside. Yeah, so the red players complained that the number 3 had handled the ball before it went out of play. I obviously couldn't see this. I have no idea. And in the spirit of the game, if he had, it would have probably been an inch from going off. It's not something that I'm going to be too precious about unless it's absolutely obvious to me. And then we get our first real foul of the game. This is obviously a late tackle. To me, this didn't quite meet the threshold of reckless play. It was more of a late trip than reckless. Again, it's not really a promising attack, and so I'm telling him, mate, just be careful. Sliding in like that, it doesn't look good. And then from that free kick, the blue player does this. I think about blowing the whistle and I wait to see if an attack can play out. And then we stop playing, giving an indirect free kick. For those of you that have been watching the channel for a while, you'll know that we refereed this team, Frampton, versus Sharpness, closer to the beginning of this season. And we didn't issue a second yellow card to the Sharpness number 9 for doing this. Now, a lot of people disagree that we should have sent him off, which I can get on board with. I think in hindsight, I probably would have, but not because he blocked the keeper off, but because it was his 5th foul and maybe even 6th or 7th because we'd played advantage on a couple and we'd missed 1 or 2. So I agree that he probably should have been sent off. However, this is not one of those situations. This is the first offence that the number 9 is making, other than the verbals at the start. By the letter of the law, this is just an indirect free kick and not a compulsory yellow card like a lot of people think it is. So we just have a word and say, mate, you cannot block the goalkeeper off. The goalkeeper's then very cheeky, tries to take it outside his box, and I say, mate, well, it can't be outside your box, can it? Because otherwise you'd have handballed it. And then we start again from here. From there, we give this free kick. They're both jumping up for the ball. He's jumped in late, and so it's just a foul. And then from there, we get this tackle. This doesn't look good, I'll be honest. If he's caught him, then this is a yellow card. It has to be a yellow card. This is reckless play for sure. I'm trying to get a little bit tighter to the line so I can see the offside because it's constantly a problem, which means that as that ball comes out, I literally cannot see what's happening on the other side of those players' backs. From the camera, you can just about see it, right? If we take the angle of the camera, you can just about see what's happening here, but I'm looking from this direction, and so I cannot see anything but the back of the players. Now it looks like he's come in recklessly with his studs and caught him. This should be a yellow card, but I just could not see it from the position that I was in. I don't know where I could have been to get an angle on this tackle. It's difficult because by the reaction of the players, I knew that the tackle wasn't great, but I hadn't actually seen it. And so I bring the captain in and the number 7 who just committed a foul just a second ago and say to him, mate, that's borderline. You need to be very, very careful. No more fouls like that. Now you'll notice for the rest of the game that the number 7 doesn't commit another foul. So this talking to does have the desired effect of what a card would have, right? To discourage the player from making more tackles like this. But by the letter of the law, this is reckless play and it should have been a yellow card. I just couldn't see it from where I was. We set up the free kick, we take up a better position, and this happens. So no yellow card, but the blue team have scored, and so they forget about it and they don't mention it. Now this is such an interesting situation and something I didn't even think about during the game. Do you notice what happens here? So number 9 gets the ball and the number 3 runs around the back of him off the pitch. Now he doesn't receive the ball, not impacting play, so it doesn't really matter. But what does law say about this? So law says a player is cautioned if guilty of entering, re-entering, or deliberately leaving the field of play without the referee's permission. Now, are we really going to give a yellow card for that action? Not for me. I don't see a world where anyone wants or expects a caution for this type of action. He hasn't gained an advantage from doing it at all. And if he had gained an advantage, then maybe I would have a different outlook. But for me, this is not something I would caution for at grassroots. Even though by letter of the law it's a cautionable offence, I just don't see why you would do it. But if I'd have noticed, I may have just said to the player, look mate, you can't leave the pitch to gain an advantage deliberately, so just be careful, don't do that again. And then you've set it up. He knows if you do it, there can be no argument. You've already let them know what the crack is, basically. We then give a foul against the blue number 3. The reason I gave the foul was the way that he went into the challenge. I really didn't like the way that it looked. You see that it's almost like a bit of a stamping motion. Again, no one really made a big deal of it, but you're seeing the nature of the way that he's gone in, that yeah, that was actually, reckless. I would say that was reckless. I think that actually probably should have been a yellow card as well. The way he turns his back and puts his foot in, cowardly is not the right word, but it is, right? He knows that he's going to put his back in, he's going to, turn away, leave his foot in so there's no chance of him getting hurt. This is not a way we want to be going into tackles. And so I had probably 2 yellow cards missed. 1 for red, 1 for blue. So we stop play here for a head injury. You'll see the player in red clears the ball and the ball hits the blue player in the face, not the player in red. The player in red didn't play in a dangerous manner. I don't know why I put my arm up in the air. I actually wasn't given an indirect free kick because I even told the players, no, the ball's hit his face. I'm just stopping play. But because I signaled for an indirect free kick like a numpty, they think I've given a foul, which was not the case. And the ball had hit him in the face. Obviously head injury, potential to be a serious injury. So we always stop play and make sure we're safe. And then we drop the ball for the team in red. I'm not having the best of halves here, to be honest, because the drop ball also should have been to the blue team. Now, I didn't really think about it because I knew I was blowing up for half-time anyway, so it didn't really matter who the ball went to. But by the letter of the law, this ball should have gone to the blue team because it was last touched by blue and the ball was going to end up with the blue team. And that is half-time. We have got a massive series coming out soon. I do not want you to miss out on it, so make sure to subscribe. I can't say too much now. Thank you. In this situation, typically, you would want to get wide. Now, the reason I didn't get wide is 1, I was too far away. I would never have got wide enough and close enough, quick enough. So in this situation, I decided to basically go in a straight line. The benefit for doing this as well is in this situation, realistically, what is this blue player going to do? He's either going to drive in towards goal or he's going to end up squaring that ball across to his mate. So by getting wider, I'm not necessarily going to get much of a better angle because he's well away from the 9. He's likely not going to get fouled by the 9. And then in this situation, we've got a half decent angle on what's happening and we're much closer to play than we would have been if we'd ended up going wide. Defender ends up getting a nick on it and it comes off the blue player, so it's a goal kick, but that's the reason I decided to stay central. I wouldn't have got wide enough and close enough. I had no choice really but to go straight down the middle towards goal because that was my quickest route to get there. Another thing in this game that I wasn't really at the races with was these long ball situations. It happened frequently. For those of you that have watched the channel for a little while, you'll know that when a long ball is played, ideally you want to have a side-on view of what's happening between the defender and the forward, right? The number 9 and the number 5. What can I see here? How do I know if something's happening between them from here? Absolutely nothing. Okay, I can see nothing. All I can look at is the captain's face. That's it. I should be out here by the edge of the center circle, and then I've got a really clear view on what's happening, right? If I'm stood in this area, I'd have a really clear view on their back. And on top of that, I'm not in the way if the ball gets headed back out into these areas. So don't get caught in these areas, okay? Get wider so that you can see the back of the striker and the defender. You can see that side on view. Also, That ball then falls to the number 14, and again, I'm still central. Imagine I was starting out here. How much better of a place am I now for this situation, rather than having to try and get out here now and worry about running in the way of these players? It's just such a better place to be. Thankfully, nothing happens. There's no big decision to make, but it's not a good position to be in, and you can really find yourself in trouble. And here, I was certain the goalkeeper had saved it. I really was. I was like, I'm almost certain the goalkeeper's got a touch on this. And from the camera, I think he has as well. I just waiting. I'm looking at people, and all the Chalford players start walking away. And so I'm like, all right, I'll give a goal kick. No one's expecting a corner. Maybe I didn't see what I thought I saw, and so I decided to give a goal kick. But if the Frampton goalkeeper's watching, can you let me know if you touched it? Because I really thought you did. Frampton then get another goal. And we give a free kick against the goalkeeper shortly after for this. He completely bypasses the ball and decides just to shove the forward, and so it's just a simple free kick. This is not shielding, this is not a charge, this is just a push off the ball. So yeah, free kick. And then after that, we have a very quiet kind of 15 minutes. Obviously, Frampton are now a couple goals up. The game's kind of died down a little bit, but then we have to give this foul on the far side. It's really not clear on camera because it's on the opposite side of the pitch, but as the lad's gone to shield, he's kind of caught the lad in the face. This to me was just a careless foul. It wasn't reckless. There was no intent in this whatsoever, and so it was easier just to have a word. I didn't think it warranted a card. Because the player has had treatment by a physio and the player has not received a caution, the player receiving treatment does have to go off the field of play, and they can come back on when the referee calls them back on. So we play an advantage here. There's no foul there from the number 8, and this lad gets taken out outside of the box. He goes down in the box, but the foul is outside. I think about blowing. I end up giving the advantage, and nothing comes of it. I'm in two minds here whether to play advantage or not. Whether the advantage is right or not is not the thing I want to focus on though. What I want to focus on is my body language. And what does my body language tell the players about what I think about this situation? Bringing the whistle to your mouth shows that you think about giving a foul. Then you take the whistle away from your mouth, shows that players aren't sure. And then you give a half-assed advantage signal, and players then really don't think you're sure. And nobody in the ground thinks you're sure. I've not committed to anything here, and it just doesn't look good. And it didn't feel good because I knew, I should just give a foul here. It's right on the edge of the box. Is there really an advantage? But the decision's actually irrelevant. What the important thing is how you display the decision to everybody. If I thought it was best to play advantage, at this point, I can say, advantage, or just hold both arms out very clearly, or even one arm, depending on what your style is. But going, that's just not what we want to be doing, okay? Deliver your signals with confidence when you're out there, not like me here. Deliver them with confidence. Strong tackle, but he comes in, wins it. The ball then bounces off the red player, so that's why the ball doesn't go off to the side. It was an absolutely fine tackle. Tackling the penalty area, again, very simple for me, no penalty. The red player wins the ball clearly. And then we give our first caution of the game for this. Obviously, we had the discussion with Jan a few weeks ago about getting wider to see if there could be a potential foul that's going to go into the penalty area. This is not one of those situations. It's very clear that that player is going to cross the ball. He's not going to drive towards the goal. So as a referee, I don't need to be out here to look at that. Actually staying more central gives me a better angle on what's about to happen. That's exactly what does happen. Okay, they cross the ball. And for me, the number 3 deliberately put his arms out to block the ball. This was outside of the area. I could see that it was outside the area from the angle I was at. I didn't need to be in line with it. You can see where his feet are. And so we give a free kick for deliberate handball. For me, this is unsporting behaviour, trying to block the ball deliberately with your arms, and maybe even stopping a promising attack because the ball's going into the area. I'm not really sure about that. I'm just telling you what I thought in the moment. I'm not saying I'm right, I'm just saying that's what I thought, and so I decided to show a yellow card. The game's pretty much done. Do I really need to show a yellow card here? Maybe not, but that's what I thought in the moment, and so I decided to give it. Chalford come very, very close to scoring, and then this happens. Oh my gosh, it makes me feel sick when I see that back. The wind became so high that it blew the camera over. Thankfully, this didn't fall on anybody. These players had got past the camera by the time this had fallen, but man, that could have not been good. And thankfully, it's only a couple minutes before full time. Nothing else happens, and that's that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.